Hi, this is Bill Hanna, Mesabi Daily News Executive Editor. Here with Representative Jason Metsa from Virginia for our ongoing series of interviews and comment during the legislative session, and which now has about 6 weeks, maybe a little bit more to go until adjournment in mid to late May. Jason, let's talk a little bit about local government aid and where that's at. I know you feel there's a proposal that is going to be much more beneficial to the Iron Range. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, Bill, we've done a significant amount of work. When the proposal originally came out from the governor's office, they had about $80 million in new proposed spending, and a bulk of that spending was not in Greater Minnesota. And so we've been working with the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, along with a multitude of other, greater representation, whether it's regional, like up here with us at the IRRB level, or the little pockets around the state that also have regional interests. And we've come up with a new formula where about half the spending in the new funds are in Greater Minnesota. So we're really happy with that. I've got some information here on our spreadsheets, and I'd like to use Virginia as an example, I guess. We start off at about $4 million, and by 2019 we end up at about $5.7 million in funding. So that's a significant increase over the next decade. And on the previous formulas, we didn't fare so well. And so this affects every small city in our region. And we still have Bowabic, which ends up not doing as well as it should, and Hibbing and Nashwauk, and those are all things we're going to continue to work on, but we feel a lot better about where it's at now than where we started. And I do believe that, again, this can tie back to when you got to introduce the governor here, where he said, I'm open to my plans out there, but I'm open to better ideas, and this is one where we did have a better idea. He listened, and he's been working with us, and we're hoping to see this pass through this year.
Okay, Jason, let's talk a little bit about the investment tax credit, which goes back to mining companies for them to put new projects or new work into the plants on the range. And I don't know how much that is now, whether it's 30 cents, what is that? Maybe you can say that. But right now I believe the proposal is to take that money and use it for education, capital projects on the Iron Range. And I don't think the range delegation is fully unified as to how that should be done at this point. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Bill, we're all committed to putting more money in the education system, and so it's a matter of where the money comes out of. And at the IRRB now, we're going to have some leftover escalator money from the last few years, with production being up, and we don't have the weight anymore of the 2007, I believe was the year that we got weighted down pretty good, because we run on the IRRB with a 3-year trajectory where we're resetting the numbers there, so it's not up and down as much as in past years. What we do want to do is provide some money for bonding for our local schools, and we're talking right now about using the TEDF, which is Taconite Economic Development money, that we give as a tax rebate to the mines. So essentially, that was one avenue we were looking at in meeting with a lot of the local union presidents. Historically, my understanding is they use this to leverage smaller localized projects that might not be on the company's radar. And so after meeting with our local presidents, we do have quite a few projects that have been approved over the last few years, and they feel like the funding should stay in place right now. And we do believe that they've been doing a good job leveraging the funds, both for larger projects out at the mines that might not get approved, and they use it kind of like their version, I guess, of what I would see as matching funds for kind of a bonding type project within the company. So I would like to see us exhaust every other alternative. There are plenty of other funds where we can garner we're looking to get about 10 cents total was the delegation's goal, which would equate to about 30 million and some odd change over the next decade to use for schools to do capital investment with. And I know we're all committed to doing that. What fund it comes out of, as you know, is always going to be kind of where we get hung up on things. But one of the reasons I really want to see us look at other alternates aside from the TDF would be, that's one of the funds that keeps the money in the core range area where we're actually sending out from MinTac, KeyTac, all of our mines, and subsidizing the rest of the taconite tax relief area. And I do see a good portion of those funds staying here, creating jobs at the mine. And so I would like to exhaust all the other potentials out there, I guess, before we commit to taking from one source.
So Jason, is there disagreement between range legislators as to how that money should be distributed?
As always, we do within our regions as a delegation fight for our region's funding from the IRRB and the tax dollars that are being dispersed through there. And right now, I would say we aren't so much fighting over where it's going as to what fund it's coming out of. And so I think all of us are on the same page to get the bonding money available, and then to make sure that it's representative to the districts that actually need the money. And I think we're waiting to hear back some more from the Rams Association. Has been tasked with getting us kind of a list of bonding projects or potential bonding projects that all the different school districts around the whole taconite tax relief area need. And I think one area my predecessor and I are going to disagree a little bit. He might have fought for Virginia, Mountain Iron, Buell, and the way I look at it, I still believe that Cook, Tower when it was in service, Babbitt and Barris and Cherry, all of those kids have parents who work in the mines too, and we need to be paying attention to their funding as well. So, for me it's more about finding the solution that works best, and right now if we took out the language as to where it came from, it would just get taken out of the general funding. So it would come a portion out of the Doug Johnson and a portion out of the environmental fund to take care of that request. So
I think you created, without knowing, a good segue into the next question, Jason. Fiscal disparities. When it began, I think it had unified support of range delegation. As it went on over the years, it seemed like your predecessor, Representative Rukavina, was not enamored with it. He felt too much money was coming out of the core range. Often he would call it his money, and going to the other areas outside, fiscal disparities, to make sure other communities get part of that. There is, I believe, a study now that is being looked at on that, or hopefully get funding for a study to look at that. Why, and what would the study look at?
Right now, I did get a chance. I had a bill up right after Representative Anzel's, who carried the bill for the study on the House, and I actually went and testified with him and made sure that everyone there knew that we do support the study being done, and that the big thing for me is that we're being fair. And bottom line, I think we can each look at our own districts and use the words mine or I when we're talking about that, but we should be focusing on the word we too, because we're all in it together. And I really do think that when we're looking at solutions to grow a region, we've got to have a region view on it, not just a district. My district is a small part of a big area that's serviced by the IRRB, and so I really feel like we need to come up with solutions that have balance for everyone. But then again, we do produce all the money locally here, and we've got to be really cognizant of that too. And if we're going to be giving it out, then we should have the expectation that other people in similar agreements are being fair as well when they're making their decisions. And I know right now part of the study for the fiscal disparities in specific would be St. Louis County as a beneficiary of a lot of those disparities from Aiken, Crow Wing, and our neighboring counties here. And so my big reason for wanting to support this legislation is to make sure it's fair. And if we got to study it, and if they're not getting a fair shake through the disparities, the way it's set up, it was created a while back, it hasn't been checked in on. There aren't too many stats out there on it, to compare one area to another. And I think, after, as with any government agency, we should be checking on these things from time to time to make sure that they're as streamlined as possible, efficient as possible, and as fair as possible to the people and areas that it's serving.
Jason, thanks a lot once again for addressing some of those issues that are very parochial and very important to the area. In general, just some thoughts you might have on where the session is at right now as it goes into home stretch, and some of the major issues you see still needing to be dealt with and still kind of wide open out there.
Thanks, Bill. As always, I appreciate the open office and ability to be able to come in and communicate directly with you, and you get it out to the rest of the community, and I appreciate that. And I think the one important thing for me that we're working on, and I know I've mentioned it every interview we've done, is that we're really going in and trying to fix the root problem that we've had with our state's budget. And as I'm down there more and more, I've been learning more and more, and recently Senator Thomasoni and I were talking, and I think one thing I've really been pushing for and believe is a more fair approach is income tax increase across the board versus doing some of the additional sales taxes. And I know we've had quite a few adjustments come through in the past few weeks, both from the governor's office, and I'm sure we'll be seeing them on the House and the Senate soon with different variations of what we've been talking about previously. But I think that's one conversation we should have when we lowered everyone's by half a point. I don't remember exactly when that was, but during the Plenty administration, I know it took place early on, and we essentially cut $2 billion out of the revenue stream. And so I really think that, on top of we're talking sales tax expansion, we were talking business to business, and I think, for me and being out talking with community members over the recess here, there's a lot of people who think a fair income tax raise wouldn't be out of the question. So I think that's one thing that might come up in discussion. But I think overall, us making a significant investment into our education system and focusing on job growth, which the governor had Commissioner Katie Clark-Sieben up today from DEED. And so she's touring Joy Global locally here. She was at TriTech. This afternoon she'll be at both Mesabi Nugget and PolyMet. And so I'm encouraged to see the governor's office reaching out to those organizations locally here that really do help contribute to our diversifying economy, and making sure that especially our natural resource-based businesses are getting the economic development tools that they need locally here. And I think one thing that I'm excited about as a young person especially is the idea of us opening up trade offices in other parts of the world. I know right now Minnesota has one in Shanghai, and we've been working on legislation to open up a few more. And I think that's just going to be essential moving forward for us to be globally competitive as a state, to have those outlets, as even if it doesn't amount to deals being cut in the offices, it's our businesses having the opportunity to use those networks and at least get over to those areas and have a home base to work out of.
Jason, thanks a lot. One last thing, if I could ask you, if it's possible at all that you guys could work on a piece of legislation this late in the session, and it would be a mandate, but I think it would be a mandate that a lot of people would like. If you could get something that would mandate here in April and in May that the high temperatures would be no less than 60 and 70 degrees. Do you think you guys could pull that off?
Well, Bill, weather's one thing at the Capitol that, we could all probably argue about it. I think kind of what you're asking would be like going down St. Paul and saying, could all of you agree on what a map of the range looks like? And that's one of the things I've thought about introducing as a mandate to the legislature is if you can come up with a fair drawing and map of the range, obviously we're all in good shape then. But I think this is one of those items where I'd like to say I can commit to working with you to try to make sure that our weather's good for us up here, and I would love if that were the case. So you'll have my heart in the right spot working on it with you. So.
Well, Jason, thanks a lot, and we'll all be looking forward to see how you guys are doing as far as that weather, warm temperatures here in spring, and not putting any pressure on you or anything, but it would be nice to see if you guys can do something about it.